Round 3 of the season in GT Cup. Open Europe comes to you from the Hungaroring. We've had great visits to the Paul Ricard circuit and Spa-Francorchamps so far. We now add another string to the bow with a visit to the 4.4 kilometre long host of the Hungarian Grand Prix. This is, of course, the Hungaroring. And it is Dirk Schouten on pole position, that number 53 car out of the track racing, the Q1 track racing stable, is going to be on pole position. A great effort from him to best Jan Larijsen in qualifying. Larijsen has been the form man, has been the man to beat this so far this season. Of course, he is one of a few drivers who goes solo in these GT Cup Open Europe events. But I think we do have some compelling storylines for this one. Of course, we've got the return of the Street Art Aston Martin after they missed Spa for Julian Darras, who takes the start. And we'll be keen to see that car work up the order after a slightly off-form qualifying for Julian. And then, of course, for the first time this year, we welcome Podium Motorsport and Jaume Font, who looked very strong in qualifying.
Yeah, very strong indeed. In fact, he held on to top spot for quite a considerable amount of time. Until the track started warming up, we saw the likes of Dirk Schouten and, of course, Jan Larijsen starting to pull together the laps. Jabe Walter, of course, came into the mix and managed to scoop up third place. So a very encouraging sign from Jaume Font. And I'm sure without any further ado, they will be looking to try and improve in the race. Hopefully the race pace will be just as good as the quali pace. You would expect it. John de Wilder, of course, in 5th place, in behind that of Jaume Font. John de Wilder currently leading the AM category championship, 40 points to his name, has not lost a race so far in terms of the AM classifications, has picked up wins in all 4 so far. And certainly the spectators here at Hungary also watching on the action. You've had a full day of it today, plenty of it to say the least. It's wonderful to certainly watch the cars make their way around this wonderful circuit. Very, very testing indeed. 4.381 kilometers, that's 2.722 miles of pure racing, 14 corners, and a capacity of generally 70,000 people you could fit at a circuit such as this. So keep your eyes peeled, folks. Everyone in the grandstands, I'm sure, will be watching on, seeing what battles we're going to witness here today.
Yes, certainly. I think this is the busiest Saturday we've had all season in terms of spectator footfall. The Hungarian fans are very loyal and very much into their racing, especially of the GT flavour. And so no surprise to see fans out and about for the GT Cup Open Europe, the International GT Open, and indeed the Euro Formula Open this weekend. Of course, it's GT Cup Open Europe that is the focus right now. And this man, Jan Larijsen, who will be looking to add more strings to the bow. He's had 3 wins from 4 races thus far in the season, and that 4th race was a race that he didn't partake in.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And certainly we'll have to see whether he can continue his great run of form. Not starting on 1st position, though. That pleasure, it goes to that of Dirk Schouten. So a bit of a different set of affairs, though, we have seen before. Don't see that every day.
That's a Teletubby. I'm not making...
Isn't that Dipsy?
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I don't think that's an FIA-accredited race suit, sir. It is the same colour as the car, though, which I think was the point he was trying to make. I did see this chap walking around earlier on, and apparently he's associated with one of the teams, so very interesting stuff. Nonetheless, Dirk Schouten, as you were suggesting, as you were alluding to, is on the pole position. And there you see the number 53 Q1 track racing car with the Dutchman at the wheel. And Jan Larijsen starting alongside him, also from Q1 track racing. The Belgian competitor will be looking to continue on from a very successful month of June that he had across numerous championships. Jabe Walter on home turf, the Hungarian driver sharing with another Hungarian driver, sharing with Nagy at the wheel of that 66 car, so GDL Racing, the de facto home team this weekend in GT Cup Open Europe. And then we have Jaume Font, who looks like a force to be reckoned with in the AM class, as we have discussed, racing for Podium Motorsport. He's there in 4th position. John de Wilder, though, often a favourite in the AM class. He doesn't like the Hungaroring, does he? I think he was telling you that last time at Spa.
He was. In fact, he said he hasn't raced here before, so this is brand new for John de Wilde. So new territory. Probably explains he is where he is right now, but 5th place still not too bad. There is, of course, the 007 Aston Martin, belonging of that to Julian Darras. Great to see them here as well, here in the GT Cup Open event. And further back then, we've got Stefano Zanini in 7th place, car number 44. And you'll be looking to get a big jump as well. Be sharing the pleasures with that of Eugenio Pisani. We'll see how they get on as well. Laurent van der Velde lines up in 8th place. Car number 52, the Belgian. And he'll be looking for another big run as well. Obviously plenty to offer. Lots of these drivers here at Hungary. Many of them may not have raced here before, like John de Wilde for that instance. And there's in 9th place Florentin Sescu, the Romanian, in car number 21 in the Porsche. And you'll look to a nice wave as well. Big hello there, Florian.
Yes, of course, that car was entered as 217 at the first 2 rounds of the season, so they've shed a number. The weight of that extra decal has been shed from the car, and maybe that can boost them up the order. Fabio Fabiani starting from the rear of the grid. But now, let's go to highlights from last time. Beginning of race number 1, it was Alex Fontana in the 67 GDL racing car who held off Jan Larijsen in the early going. Some good scrapping further back in the order as Schaber Walter scrapped for AM honours. Side by side later on in the race as Jan Larijsen moved up into the lead, and back through the order was the 66 car. No such issues though for Jan Larijsen, who claimed his first win on home turf. Would it be his last? I think not. Same story as today's front row, with Dirk Schuiten getting the pole position in race 2, and he led in the early going as there was some grass tracking further back from Borgi in the number 12 car. Jan Larijsen dived for the lead and made it stick on Lucas Valkra to take what would be another win for him. And some side-by-side action elsewhere on circuit as well. John de Wilde having to fight hard in that 56 car, but Jan Larijsen would do it again in race 2 at Spa, and that did this to the championship standings. It put Larijsen just a point clear of Dirk Schuiten and Lucas Valkra. John de Wilde there, 3rd overall as well. So the driver that is atop the AM class also putting in a good showing in the overall classifications as well. Both the Schuiten and Valkra 53 and Jan Larijsen Pro-Am cars. So then race 1 will be rolling for its formation lap very shortly, and it is Dirk Schuiten who will be rolling from the front. Jan Larijsen alongside him on the first row of the grid, the 2 Pro-Am cars at the sharp end. Schaber Walter will start from 3rd place alongside Jean Font. Row 3 of the grid, we'll see John de Wilde joined by Julian Darras in the sole Aston Martin interloper among the Porsches in this race. Stefano Zanini there in 7th place. He's the fastest of the older 991 spec Porsches alongside Laurent van der Velde, Florentin Sescu and Fabio Fabiani. Rounding out our top 10, rounding out our order for this one. And the GT Cup Open Europe will begin its formation lap very shortly. It will be Dirk Schuiten who controls the field as they get underway on the rolling start in about 2.7 miles time. Jan Larijsen though will be eager to try and force his will early on.
Yeah, he will, and I think turn 1 will definitely be the opportune moment. The big question is, can he get the jump required? A few of them not getting the jump on the formation lap there. It's a bit of a slow getaway as we there see them now ride off towards turn 1. There you can see now the leading car, and of course being the safety car at this point, just leading them round. And we've got an interview coming up now very shortly.
This one was a bit closer. I was struggling a bit. I was not really happy with the lap, but I couldn't get it all together. But still pole in the end, so yeah, really happy with that. And I actually drove 3 times the same lap time. I think a 49.0. Yeah, so that was quite funny, but I wanted to improve, but I couldn't, so first lap was good enough.
was good enough. And how you see the race this afternoon?
I think we got a shot at victory. We have been really getting the car to have a good setup, and now Lucas is doing a really good job. So I think we can get John.
Seems as if there may be some problems for Schaber Volta. You see the car's not there third in the queue. In fact, it's fourth in the queue, which goes against the grid. So something's gone a bit amiss there for Schaber. Maybe just didn't quite get off the line properly. As John de Wilder, you'll note that he's in a new coat of paint this weekend. He's in the purple all of a sudden. I don't think that's the same car. I think he's changed chassis. In fact, I think that's the 51 car that he went wheel to wheel with last time at Spa. Enemies become friends very quickly in this industry sometimes. Dirk Schouten then is our pole sitter for this. He will control the start, as I alluded to a few moments ago, from the cockpit of his Porsche 992 Cup car, the latest evolution of the Porsche 911 Cup machines that have been going now for 30 years. The first generation Porsche Cup car was a 964, and they have continued to grow and evolve along with the Porsche 911 lineup ever since then. The 992, a very spectacular car to drive. I have that on good authority. And two of them on the front row of the grid, with Jan Larijsen looking to try and make it work from the outside, of course, going into turn one. He's going to be taking the outside line with Dirk Schouten there on the inside. Will Schouten be able to get a jump on Larijsen? Can we see the likes of Schaber Volta and Jean Font challenge? Incidentally, Schaber Volta is back into the correct position now, so no harm, no foul as we roll around the final turn. 50 minutes of racing with a pit stop in the middle will begin in just a few seconds. Lights out, and they are rolling once more, as it is a good start for Dirk Schouten. Larijsen, though, looks like he might come under pressure. Keep an eye on the GDL car, the 66 of Schaber Volta. He dives for the inside. The Hungarian driver wanted to lead in Hungary, but unfortunately, the inside is only granted in third, maybe second place. Jean Font around the outside has moved up to make that second place, and Jan Larijsen has got into the lead. A terrible start for Dirk Schouten. He finds himself down in fourth place. It's a bit physical further back as well, but oh dear, our pole sitter free-falling through the order in the first couple of corners.
He seemed to get swallowed up from the start, just could not quite maintain the getaway. The momentum started slipping. Jan Larijsen capitalised instantly and took the lead. Jan Font, a very, very good move around the outside of turn one, with Schaber Volta battling with him for that second place spot. It would be Font who would come out on top in that particular exchange, with Dirk Schouten then falling further back into fourth place. Julian Darris, though, getting off okay, fifth place for him and the Aston Martin, and John de Wilder in sixth as well in that new purple livery. But a very, very steady start, not too much carnage. It's all been pretty good so far. Still is Jan Larijsen in front.
It is Jan Larijsen at the sharp end of the order, and up in second place is Jean Font, the AM-class leader for now. Second overall, Jean has got plenty of racing experience at many different high levels, and great to have him racing with us here in the GT Cup Open Europe. Schaber Volta then in third place on home turf, but Dirk Schouten consistently showing great pace. He's going to be very difficult to hold off, I think, in this opening salvo of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, he's getting very, very close now to the rear of Schaber Volta as they head down through towards turn one. Schouten looking to try and recover the damage that was done in the initial lap. That we now see them going round the outside. Now Dirk Schouten not quite able to capitalise. Maybe try a switch back. Not this time out of turn one. They got turn two to come. Might choose to maybe hang it around the outside, leading around turn two in towards turn three. As they do so, there's Schaber Volta inside line, outside for Schouten as they now send it down through towards turn three. Schouten has barely a car, nose in front. No, he just doesn't quite grasp it, unfortunately, and still it's Schaber Volta in third place. A very good defensive display there from Schaber Volta.
Yeah, very well done from Schaber. I'm sure he's done some racing here at the Hungaroring over the years. It is his home turf after all. Same can be said for his teammate Zsombor Nagy as well. It's an all-Hungarian lineup for GDL racing this weekend. And I understand big boss Gianluca De Lorenzi is actually competing in the Fun Cup 25-hour this weekend, so he's having a laugh. Oh, but no laughing matter for Schaber Volta. Schouten was up the inside, and a spin and contact for Schaber Volta sent him down to almost the very back of the pack. Schouten had a nose up the inside. I didn't think he was close enough to try and get fully alongside the 66 car. And well, contact between the two of them was the end result, and Schaber Volta is down to P9.
He is not good at all. Here's the replay. We just saw it there, cut away, but this time, yeah, just got so tight. It's not really the best place to overtake around there. Dirk Schouten trying to make something work. And there we could see the car of Schaber Volta there spinning off into the outside of the track. And we did say earlier on about how treacherous that part of the circuit really is, especially in these Porsche cars. One little twinge, one little error, and it can cost you dearly.
Yes, it can. It's promoted the rest of the field, though, of course. Dirk Schouten has managed to get himself up to third. Julian Darras up to fourth place in the Aston Martin Vantage. And now rounding out the top five is John de Wilde in his number 56 car. He runs second in AM behind Jean Font at this stage. There you see the 21 car of Florentin Zescu. The older 991 spec Porsche. He's holding on to the back of Laurent van der Velde at this stage. And Schaber Volta, you see in the back of shot there, down in ninth. He is going to be driving with a bee in his bonnet, I think, for the rest of his stint.
Yeah, he certainly will be. He needs to try and recover 1.2 against Florentin Zescu in 8th place. So he needs to put his best foot forward. Of course, this is where he needs to get his head down and start working. We can confirm that the incident involving cars 53 and 66 at turn 9 is under investigation. So I'm sure we'll get a verdict on that. Team managers now being asked to report to race control immediately, and that's Dirk Schouten's team manager. So there we have it, a more in-depth analysis required by the stewards. So we'll soon find out what the resolution is on that. Larison still leads the way. There's Juan Font, who's currently sat in second, has done very well, but still 3.3 behind. Larison has been doing such a tenacious job, a 150.911, the sole man in the 150s in terms of the last lap. Has actually managed to marshal together a fast lap too. First sector, in fact, on this lap alone. Fastest of all so far in terms of his current performance. Dirk Schouten finding a little bit more in the final sector as they now make their way down this long stretch. Juan Font still currently in second. Dirk Schouten, though, starting to bring the gap down. There you see how much it's reduced by. Schouten really starting to lay it on thick now on Juan Font as they come in towards turn 1. Font still doing enough to hold on to second place, but just look at how the gap has come down. That was out by 1 second, nearly enough 1 second. It was 1.1 when we last checked. We've got a run-off there as well. A little bit of a moment heading around that particular bend. I'm pretty sure that's turn 9 again.
That was turn 12, actually. Turn 12 and 13, where there was a little bit of a kerfuffle going on there with Florentin Zescu and Laurent van der Velde. Tinzescu up a position. Here is the battle for second place. Dirk Schouten has now got Jean Font as his imminent competition, the AM class leader. But Jean, a very strong driver. So this won't be easy. However, he's made it look quite easy, hasn't he? He's drawn alongside, coming out of turn 5 and up into P2 has gone Dirk Schouten.
Yeah, Dirk Schouten up into second place. A wonderful move, executed it well, and headed into turn 6 in front. That's certainly what he would have wanted. Here's the replay. Found the inside line heading out of turn 5 and managed to generate the overspeed and get himself ahead of that of Juan Font. Very calculated, cool and calm. Exactly what you need at Hungaroring.
Yeah, exactly right. And the recovery drive ongoing then for Schaber Volta as he tries to get by Laurent van der Velde. Good run out of turn 11. Dives to the inside. Nice move. Decisive braking into T12. Carries on up the order into 7th. Make that 8th place, my apologies. And Florentin Zescu will be his next target. Get a replay of that there. Use a bit more of the outside curve. Got a better run out of T11. And up a position into T12. went Schaber Volta with relative ease. He's going to be continuing to press through the order. I think he might be great value for money when it comes to entertainment over the remainder of his stint. A reminder that there is a pit window to consider in this 50-minute race. That will be open in 13 minutes' time. In other words, with 29 minutes of the race to go, the pit window will open.
Yeah, absolutely. Driver changes will be brought to the table as well for those who have second drivers. For others, it's just a case of sitting in the car and waiting until your allotted time is up. As you're now watching the cars make their way in towards the next straight now at turn 5. There is Juan Fons, who's now in 3rd place, currently leading the AM category. And it's clear of Julian Darris by just under 3.5 seconds. And as they make their way down now in towards the next left, there you see on our cameras Dirk Schouten, of course, in 2nd place. And has just set his own personal best, sector 1 so far, 39.3. Trying to do his best to certainly try and close on Jan Laursen. Certainly, if you think about it, you know, he would have been held back by Juan Fons for quite a considerable amount of time, and therefore Jan Laursen could have used that to his benefit and start making a bit of a break for it. So he's just registered another personal best as Jan Laursen in the 2nd sector, and no doubt be trying to break away from Dirk Schouten as best he can, because I'm sure he's very wary of his pace, especially after qualifying.
Exactly. Schouten was the quickest of all in qualifying this morning. He was also the quickest of all in race 2 qualifying at Spa last time out. Schouten always a quick driver at the wheel of these cars. However, he's just had a bit of bad news come through to him on the radio, I'm sure, because a 5-second time penalty has been added to the race time for Dirk Schouten and indeed his co-driver Lucas Valkra. A collision caused with the number 66 car, that being Schaber Volta, who we see on screen. Not really a huge surprise that that ruling has come through.
No, not at all. I think it got very close. It was, like we said before, not really the turn where we would usually see an overtake, and especially with these particular cars, you get very easily thrown out wide. It doesn't take a lot. One little nudge is all it takes. And it sends Schaber Volta into a spin, but he's on the recovery mission. And here we see live pictures, and he's trying to close down on Florentin Zescu. And he certainly has done that. 4/10 of a second is all that separates the pair as they're now around turn 5. And just see how close he's closer than 4/10 now as they head down through towards the next chicane. And Schaber Volta, no doubt, will be looking for the opening to try and move his way up into 7th position. There you can see now the gap still closing all the time. He certainly is putting the pressure on now as Schaber Volta as they head through that turn 9 section. This was, of course, where he was the victim of that particular spin before then venturing around this next left-hander at turn 10 now. They'll have another straight to take after this particular one at turn 11, where they'll make their way down through towards turn 12, a 90-degree right-hander, which tees up then the hairpin bend, and in comes now Schaber Volta. Oh, got a little bit, slight loss of control around that part, very nearly colliding with Florentin Zescu, but I have to say, very good evasive driving to avoid the issue there, but that could have ended in tears.
Both of these cars are also closing in on the Porsche 991 Cup car of Stefano Zanini out of the Eugenio Pisani SP Racing outfit. And well, that's because Zanini had a mighty moment there coming out of turn 12. Well held, sir. Stefano Zanini now, though, under threat from Florentin Zescu and indeed Schaber Volta. So we've got a 3-car scrap here, 2 different models of Porsche 911 represented. The first 2 cars, the older 991 generation Cup cars, is a 992 Cup car in the hands of Schaber Volta. They turn into the second corner of the lap, and all 3 of them choosing to go for quite a narrow entry to run the car out wide and then launch it out of the turn 2 apex. And Schaber Volta is looming large, and it's not just because the 992 is slightly wider, it's because he is driving with a huge degree of red mist. He got tagged out of a podium battle at his home circuit, and he wants to make amends.
Yeah, it certainly does. A lot of work to do. Schaber Volta trying to get closer and closer to Florentin Zescu, and he certainly has done that. Seems to like it in this part of the circuit. and he's going to manage to get himself closer and closer all the time. Tinsescu must be looking in behind and saying, "Oh, please go away." So they're watching him head through turn 9 now, and through this next left at turn 10, and still once again Walter unable to find the pressing move as they now head down through from turn 11, running wide there. Again, Csaba Walter tries to find a bit of overspeed. Will he go for the move again at turn 12? Not this time. It's probably better to tee this. Oh, mistake there from Florentin Tinsescu, allows now Csaba Walter to move into 7th place. Where we just a flick of the rear, and that's exactly right. I said it before, these tepid cars, they do sometimes find themselves sort of tripping out a little wide from time to time. You can lose the rear or even the front on various occasions, depending on where your bias is. And again, Tinsescu, I think, was a victim of that.
Yeah, he understeered out from the apex at turn 12, couldn't get the car turned in, and then trying to put the power down on the AstroTurf on the exit of T12, he ended up in a bit of a spin. And worth noting, of course, that in the earlier GTOpen race, we had some oil down. I don't know whether that was a factor, but it looked to me more like he just missed his braking, asked the car to turn and brake at the same time, and ended up running wide as a result.
Yeah, not good at all. Removes him down to P8, but Csaba Walter will be happy. He's up into 7th, and he's trying to close down Stefano Zanini. The gap between those is 1.3 seconds as it stands, and I'd imagine it's coming down all the time right now. Zanini, obviously looking behind, will be very wary of Csaba Walter. Essentially am against the Pro-Am category right now. There is Florentin Tinsescu in 8th place, who, as a result of the little error, has now dropped back to 1.4 seconds away from Csaba Walter. Therefore, we'll need to try and rein that in as best he can. We now take a nice action shot of Jan Larijsen coming through the chicanes at turn 6 and 7, and looking very, very strong indeed. Though, what I will say is this, despite Dirk Schutten's penalty, remember the gap was 4 seconds, it's now down to 3.6 as things stand. So he's putting in a good stint, and he's just gone purple in the 2nd sector as well.
Yeah, Schutten has a habit of breaking away into the lead from pole, and he hasn't had the chance to do so this time, falling back as far as 4th place. He's now recovered to P2, albeit, as you say, having gained a penalty on his way there. And Schutten continues to press a 1 minute 50.095, fastest lap of the race as he continues to home in on this man, Jan Larijsen, in the number 54 car. And there you see the last lap delta telling the story. 8 tenths out of the gap between Larijsen and Dirk Schutten. Schutten wants to give Lucas Valkra as good of an opportunity as he can possibly provide to challenge Larijsen in the final part of the race. Traditionally, Larijsen is a little bit quicker than Lucas Valkra in Lucas's stint. But we'll have to see whether Schutten's teammate can challenge. Yeah,
no, absolutely right. And we'll have to certainly wait and see. still a long way to go in the race. The driver change starts in just over 5 minutes. So that's approximately, I would say, around 2 laps, 2 and a bit laps time. So 2.5 laps time at this point. As we're now watching the battle for 6th place between Stefano Zanini and Csaba Walter, who's already managed to gain the time required upon this man Zanini, who's currently sat in 6th. And this battle will rain onwards as they now head in towards turn 6 and 7. And Walter, who has certainly been very, very effective in the 2nd sector, is once again finding all the time he needs now against this time Zanini. Did exactly the same to Florentin Tinsescu earlier on, and now the pressure is on that of Stefano Zanini to hold back Csaba Walter, who looks around the outside, just trying to find every gap possible, just to try and inflict a little bit of nerves into that of Zanini as they head around turn 11. They've got another straight to take now. Csaba Walter did have a look at this corner for a move earlier on, going defensive is Zanini. Here comes Walter, a very late break in towards turn 12, but holds the car together. A magnificent display, very, very brave, but managed to get the anchors on just before he even went over the curb.
Outrageous late braking from Csaba Walter there to dive up the inside of Stefano Zanini in a moment where I definitely don't think Stefano saw it coming, but very well navigated by both parties. Csaba absolutely went for it, just slid the car out from behind. Driving there from Csaba Walter, a man possessed at the wheel of the 66 car. His next target is John DeWalder, 3 seconds up the road, and with the way Schaba's driving, I wouldn't bet against it.
No, we're not at at all. I tell you what, Walter now on an absolute charge right now. Obviously, unfortunate that he lost the position that he did have after battling with Dirk Schouten earlier on in the race, but nevertheless, it certainly made it very entertaining for us to watch here in the commentary box. I'd imagine it's very much the same for you guys at home as well, as now we're watching the time gap look to come down. 3 seconds is what Xaber Walter needs to find on John de Wilder. Of course, John de Wilder 4 times a winner in the AM category, and Walter is going to look to try and get past him perhaps, and maybe make it for the first time this season that de Wilder does not in fact get a race win in the AM category itself. As we're now watching pictures of Jan Larijsen making his way through Dirk Schouten. I have to say, Dirk Schouten really started to apply the pressure on. 2.8 seconds the gap is down to. So he's managed to find, I think, another second since we last checked. So he's really starting to push, and he is finding time. Personal best in the first sector of this lap, not to mention a 40.5, still makes him faster than Jan Larijsen in sector 2.
Yeah, Schouten once again putting on a masterclass. He was expecting to do it from the front of the grid. That didn't come to pass. And I expect he'll stay out there for quite a way into the pit window. It is a fairly brief pit window, just 8 minutes in length. So there's not that much time to play with for the strategists and for the drivers to come up with their plan of action. Are we being generous and splitting it down the middle? Or do we have a hunch that it should go one way or the other? Dirk Schouten, I imagine, won't be in until at least halfway through. He'll be pressing on in this number 53 car. Jan Larijsen traditionally gets his pit stop out of the way pretty early on. Of course, he is a solo driver, so he doesn't even have to get out of the car. He just has to serve the minimum pit stop time. And Larijsen will have accrued a bigger pit stop minimum as well. So I think that by the time Lucas Valkyrie has taken over the car, he should be our race leader, owing to the penalty handicap that Larijsen has for his successes at Spa. So it is going to be quite interesting, this second phase of the race.
Yeah, it certainly will be. He throws another spanner in the works, but gives Larijsen and, of course, Lucas Valkyrie a chance to perhaps challenge for that lead. We'll have to wait and see whether they can keep it, should they end up in front. Of course, Dirk Schouten at this time, though, really starting to put a hole in the deficit between him and Jan Larijsen. The time's certainly looking better, though what I will say, Larijsen 3,000 better in the first sector on this particular lap, and Jan Larijsen has just gone and done his personal best in the second sector. Dirk Schouten, no, quicker than him in this middle sector, so Schouten very effective right now and finding all sorts right now. But look at this now, John de Wilder is now in the midst of a scrap himself. He's got Julian Darris ahead of him, albeit within a second, but look who it is in behind. It's Xaber Walter looking to come back again. Not another move into turn 12, please.
Too close. No, not too close, too far. I think on that occasion for Xaber Walter. A lap and 2/3 ago, that gap was 3 seconds. It's not now. And John de Wilder is going to have to fight hard here to hold on to what is not just 5th overall, but also 2nd in the AM class. Just ahead of them is the Aston Martin of Julian Darris, the GT4 spec car, brought into line with these Porsche Cup cars, courtesy of the unique VOP system we have here in the GT Cup Open Europe. The Aston traditionally quite strong in a straight line under this BOP. However, here comes Xaber Walter, and I thought for a minute he was going to go for the bravest move again. However, I don't think it's going to take him long. He gets a good run out of the first corner, certainly. He's being offered the outside going into turn 2. De Wilder holds on to the inside line at the second corner. For now, Xaber Walter can't get by. But let's see if De Wilder can hold on.
Yeah, driver changes now on as things stand. So there we have it. There's going to be cars coming into the pit lane and changing, doing their pit stops, obviously changing drivers as well. John de Wilder still holding on to that 5th place, but for how much longer? Xaber Walter absolutely peppering the rear of that purple car as they round this next round of turn 5. Now soon to be the chicane at turn 6 and 7. And I have to tell you, I wonder if Walter is actually going to try and unleash it heading in towards turn 12 again. Looks very much like the case that he's close enough at this point. Can he carry the pace through turn 9? Let's wait and see. Turns 9 and 10 as they do make their way through. John de Wilder still in 5th. There you can see Xaber Walter still managing the gap, still very much in tow. He was within 0.2 of a second prior as they round turn 11 now. Coming down towards turn 12. Will Walter go for the send again? Remember, he did this before. Is he going to switch and do it? Not this time. He's going to keep him guessing as now we're seeing Jan Larijsen into the pit lane.
Early stop as always then for Jan Larijsen, and up the inside for sixth, make that fifth position, is Schaber Volta. Straight into the pits following that goes John de Wilde, but Volta making up another position and pressing on. They're going to have to really struggle to get him back out of the car after this one. I think he's so heated up behind the wheel, he just wants to keep going and going. Jean Font out of the AM lead, also in the pit lane.
Yeah, absolutely right. Here we go, folks. All the cars are coming in. There's John de Wilde's car as well, entering into the pit lane. Whenever I interview John de Wilde, very, very sweaty after a race, that's for sure. And I'd imagine, given that the temperatures are touching 40 degrees at Hungary, he's going to be really feeling it this time. You can see some of the cars with their doors open as things stand. As you can now see, the car of Stefano Zanini coming in. Eugenio Pisani getting set to jump in his stead. And there you see it, folks, getting the straps getting the straps loose, get the driver out, get the new driver in, put the straps back on. That's how it works. And that's indeed what these drivers need to pull off, and certainly the teams need to pull off in tandem too. Here we go again, though. You've got Dirk Schouten out in front at this point. There you can see him, folks. We've got Julian Darris in second place. Car 007, of course, 007 for those of you who like your James Bond films, who are now making their way through. There you can see cars now X'd in the pit lane. That, I believe, is indeed Jan Larijsen there in tow there. He's got a little bit of a friend, though, because Jean Font has come out in front.
That's very interesting. Jean Font, of course, is here in his first weekend of the season in GT Cup Open Europe. He'll have the base handicap. He won't have any additional penalties accrued, and he has come out ahead of Jan Larijsen, and Jean Font is not an easy man to pass, I've been told. So let's see if that will work, how hard that's going to be. Now for Jan Larijsen, into the pits has come Schouten from what for now is the race lead. Lucas Valkra will take over, and of course if Jean Font, well, I was going to say if Jean Font can hold off Jan Larijsen, that might work in favour of Lucas Valkra, but we see that it's already happened. Jan Larijsen has got back around Jean Font quite easily, as it turns out, and will now press on to try and rejoin, or rather to try and beat Lucas Valkra as he rejoins the circuit. And we're just getting a look at what happened here. Oh, is this going to be a mighty lunge? Well, no, not so much really. If anything, I think Jean Font may have just let that happen. That looked to me not coordinated. I don't think there was any prior plan, but certainly I don't think it was a fight that was put up, let's say that.
No. You sold us a battle there, Adam, I have to tell you.
I expected a battle. Julian Darris, though, is seems to be having a bit of a scrap at the moment with Schaber Volta as they ran through turn 4 there. It is the Aston in the lead of the race as the pit stops continue on. We've got 3 minutes and 35 in the pit window to go, so both Julian Darris and Schaber Volta can continue on for another additional lap after this one, if they should so choose. But there you see what I anticipated with the pit handicaps. Lucas Valkra has rejoined the race in the lead. How significant of a lead we'll know after they cross the first sector split, but that looks to be something like 10 to 12 seconds in favour of Lucas Valkra. Can Jan Larijsen make up that time in the stint? You certainly wouldn't put it against him. He's got quite a lot of time to play with. 24 minutes of the race left to go. Stefano Zerbi and Fabio Fabiani there having the driver change as Schaber Volta continues to harass and harangue the back of Julian Darris's Aston Martin. And are both parties coming into the pits? Yes, they are.
So there we have it, Julian Darris into the pit lane. Schaber Volta very closely following him as well. And down into the pit lane they go. Lucas Valkra currently sat in third, obviously taking over from the otherwise duties from Dirk Schouten. And he's going to look to try and claim the first place on track. He's got Larijsen behind him for company in fourth place, though, so we could see yet again another fight between this pair. So the Aston Martin makes its way into the pit lane, door open, driver change on, and in they go. So there you have it, folks. Tyres getting changed too. And as we're now watching the cars make their way around, there's Lucas Valkra, fresh in the car now, after the initial stint by Dirk Schouten. So we're now seeing another fight going on further down as well. Coming through this next left, got this pair of, certainly these pair of drivers, Campbell Perry and holding back Laurent van der Velde, who's currently sat in 8th as well. Would like to promote himself to P7 if he can, as they come down towards turn 12. No late break this time from Laurent van der Velde. Very well defended to the inside by Camel Perrin, who ran wide. Very nearly oversteered the car as well, right into van der Velde's path. But van der Velde taking full advantage, now up into 7th place.
Almost a carbon copy of what we saw the 21 car do in the hands of Florentin Sescu a few laps ago when Schaber Volta went by. Eerily similar moment there. So Laurent van der Velde looks like he's soloing this weekend after all. He was set to team with Nicolas van Dierendonk, but Van Dierendonk obviously not here. Van der Velde soloing it this weekend then. And the 52 car up into what will be P5 for now. And we'll see if that continues to be the case as this race presses on. Certainly they've profited there in the pit stop window. Just coming out ahead of the 52 though was the 66. In fact, I've been caught out by the old timing screen thing. I don't think he'll be 5th place, Laurent van der Velde. He might be down as far as 6th or 7th ultimately once they come across the first sector split, because there you see Zsombor Nagy just ahead of him. Indeed, van der Velde is in 6th and now fighting another local man in the 66 GDL racing car, Zsombor Nagy, for 5th place. And I don't think Zsombor Nagy is going to make it to stay there much longer. Up the inside goes Laurent van der Velde. Fairly textbook stuff at the chicane. Up to 5th place goes Laurent.
Very nice move at turn 6 and 7 indeed, Adam Weller. Brilliant indeed, calculated, cool and calm. That's exactly what he needed, and he's now ahead of Zsombor Nagy now. And as they make their way in towards the next lap, we've got a little battle happening further back too, because Camel Perrin is certainly trying to marshal his advantage right now. Driver change is now officially over, so we certainly won't be having any problems with that. Here comes John de Wilde now, this time on Camel Perrin, as they head now down in towards the next right. Very, very close between the pair again. As now we're watching John de Wilde run wide at that particular bend. Seems to be an affliction at that part of the circuit right now as they head around turn 13. They've got one more to take at 14, and John de Wilde, you can imagine, just looking to try and dispatch up the Camel Perrin. We know certainly the pace of John de Wilde and what he's capable of. Obviously his first race here at Hungary. He did say that to us certainly during the Parc Ferme interview I had with him after his win last time. Well, certainly important. Apologies at Spa. As they now head down the straight towards turn 1. Still no move for John de Wilde just yet. Camel Perrin able to hold on to P7.
So de Wilde demoted down the order as a result of that penalty in his pit stop, the handicap that is applied to those who are successful in the races, and certainly no man has been more successful than John de Wilde within the AM category so far this year. Just getting a little bit of a slow-mo replay there of Laurent van der Velde making his way up through the order. De Wilde is yet to find a way past Camel Perrin though in this scrap for 7th overall. It's also a scrap for 4th place within the AM class, and De Wilde won't be liking this, because for every moment that as Perrin had a bit of a weird line out of turn 5 there. I think he was very determined to go defensive into 6. But every moment that de Wilde spends behind Perrin is a moment he should be catching early, and he takes the initiative, dives up the inside at turn 8, made it the call relatively easy there ultimately, and he is up a position now into 7th place. Zsombor Nagy is now the next target. He just got such a good run up over the curves, really put caution to the wind hopping over the curves there, and the position was his.
Yeah, not very often we see one move around turn 8, but he made it work, that's for sure. Great move there by John de Wilde. Excellent indeed, and he's now got to try and whittle the time down upon Zsombor Nagy there. 2.8 seconds is approximately the difference, the same difference in fact between van der Velde and Nagy right now. So John de Wilde putting his best foot forward. Of course, this is great for the AM Championship as things stand, because of course we did see earlier on with Schaber Volta being in the car himself. He's currently sat in, in terms of the championship, 3rd place alongside teammate Andreas Josefsson in terms of the AM classification. So, you know, certainly if they can nestle some points across the board, get closer to that of John de Wilde, it could prove to be a benefit for the championship.
Could be some dramas for the car that sits 4th overall. Eugenio Pisani at the wheel of the car that there's his name in the team as well. The team manager, I reckon that might actually be Eugenio, but he's not going to go to the race control. But someone from race control needs to go on behalf of the 44 car. Not quite sure what the penalty may be, but a penalty there is for Eugenio Pisani, so we'll keep an eye on that one as well. It would be a shame for him. He's running a solid 4th place overall right now.
Yeah, absolutely right. Lucas Valkra still holding on to the lead right now. There you can see him, folks, heading up through towards turn 14. Final corner on this lap. 17 minutes and 20 still to go, though. He's got a lot of work to do. Jan Larijsen starting to really chop away. His pace is really, really solid. Already on that previous lap, he managed to marshal in 3.5 tenths of a second in the first sector alone. Looking further back then, another 5 tenths in the second sector, and not to mention after that another 5 tenths in sector 3. So I have to tell you, Larijsen, give him maybe a couple of laps. I get the feeling we're going to be seeing a battle for the lead very, very shortly if they can maintain this pace.
Yeah, it's going to take another lap or so for Larijsen on his current pace to close into the back of Lucas Valkra, but it won't be long. I think you're quite right in saying that. Meanwhile, Nagy loses another place there. John de Wilde gets up the inside of the Hungarian driver, up into P6 goes John de Wilde.
Well, team manager's car 44 to report to race control immediately, that being Eugenio Pisani. So there we have it, folks. They're going to be going there to have a look at that. As we're now seeing John de Wilde trying to marshal in an approach, well, certainly trying to defend right now against Zombor Nagy, who has just lost his place yet again, certainly here in the top 10. And as they now make their way down in towards the next left at turn 2. So there we have it, folks. At this moment in time, Lucas Valkra holding on to the lead. Larijsen currently 2 seconds behind in second place. Still a long way to go. Can Valkra hold on?
It's going to be difficult from here, certainly for anyone to hold off Jan Larijsen. Lucas Valkra is going to have his work cut out as they came through the second sector split of this lap. Gap's down to 1.822 seconds. So coming up very quickly is Jan Larijsen. We've got 15.5 minutes of racing left to go here. And Larijsen is homing in on what would be his 3rd straight race victory after a double at Spa. And you see there Zombor Nagy trying to match pace with John de Wilde, but it looks as though there isn't going to be a return exchange there for Zombor Nagy. He's already lost 1.2 seconds to Wilde. There's Lucas Valkra, our race leader, another 9.3 tenths. 9.5 tenths more or less out of the gap between Valkra and Jan Larijsen. Larijsen continues to systematically chip away at the gap, lap on lap, sector on sector, practically apex on apex. And Jan Larijsen surely not far away from at least being able to tee up a few manoeuvres. Whether or not Valkra can defend the next 14.5 minutes, we're just going to have to see.
Yeah, and already a 4/10 difference now already. He's managed to bring it into 9 tenths now, so this is looking pretty ominous as things sit. Of course, now that you can see the rear of Lucas Valkra's car, that's just going to give him even more encouragement to go for the move as they head out of the chicane now at turn 6 and 7. There's Larijsen, who has enjoyed race wins this season, of course, winning 3 in this GT Cup Open Championship. He would like to make it 4, that's for sure. So around the next right-hander out of turn 11. And once again, Lucas Valkra is still in front, but for how much longer as now they make their way down through towards this 90-degree right. And still nose to tail at this point in time. 4 tenths now the gap, and once again going wide. We've seen it quite a few times. This time, Larijsen actually being the man that goes wide at that portion of the track, heading through this next left out of turn 13. They got one final corner to take in. Larijsen now will be looking to try and tee up a move down this main straight. He is so close to the rear of Valkra's car, coming down the straight yet again this time, now passing the start-finish line. Lucas Valkra leads. I think he got a slightly better exit out of the final corner, but that might not be enough to stop Larison as they come down towards turn 1. Is there an opportunity for a move? Not this time. Better not risk it for a biscuit. He stays in second place.
Larison was properly sideways through that final corner. He's clearly pushing on. Lucas Valkyra, though, defending admirably for now, leaves the door open, though, and that could be the opportunity Larison needs. However, Valkyra with some good car positioning there, because, of course, the outside at turn 2 becomes the inside at turn 3. It's a brave man that makes a move at turn 4. Is Jan Larison brave enough? He's certainly looking at it. Is he going to do it? He does! Jan Larison! Goodness gracious me, what a move. At a corner we very rarely see any successful overtaking, and he gets it done.
He does indeed, a wonderful manoeuvre, certainly into that fast-paced turn 4. And like I say, you very barely take your foot off the gas at that point. Maybe lift off for a bit, maybe tap the brakes. But there you see it, folks. Nose to tail between the pair. Lucas Valkyra couldn't do anything to stop Jan Larison. His pace coming out of turn 3 was just far too much. And he was able to position the car down the inside in towards turn 4. So he'll no doubt be pleased with that. He leads now here at Hungary in our first GT Cup Open race this weekend. Wonderful to say the least. Great move there from Mr. Larison.
Car 44 to get a 5-second penalty added to the race time. The pit stop was underneath the handicap, so Eugenio Pisani exited a bit early, and as such he's going to get a 5-second time penalty added to the end of his race time. Might not be an issue though, because he is 19.3 seconds clear of Laurent van der Velde, so therefore at the moment he's well clear of needing to worry about his 4th place being taken away from him and his 3rd place in Pro-Am. Here we see the top 2 then. Jan Larison just now starting to build the gap over Lucas Valkyra, who fought admirably, but Larison is up into the lead. Here is the car we were just talking about. That is Eugenio Pisani. The car behind him is a lap down. That's Stefano Zerbi, so he hasn't got anyone within that 5-second bracket who's on the same lap. Shouldn't be too much of an issue, that penalty that he has gained, but one that they'll certainly have to discuss with the pit crew afterwards. Hey, let's just double check that handicap next time, yeah?
Absolutely. We're just seeing as well, John de Wilde starting to put in some personal bests in sector 2 and 3 as well, really trying to close on Van der Velde. Now this obviously would be key, because of course John de Wilde will have a chance to go second in the AM classification, so every point counts, and I'm sure John de Wilde would have that firmly on his mind right now. Of course, coming to Hungary, and I think to get anything from this particular race, certainly somewhere where you've never raced before, I think is certainly a big bonus, certainly a big plus, and he will be able to contribute once again to his championship standing. Of course, nothing stopping Juan Font, currently in 3rd place, currently holding on to the AM lead right now. As we know, watch John de Wilde in our pictures, getting closer and closer to Laurent van der Velde as they round turn 5. That purple car starting to urge closer and closer. That gap was just under 1.2. It's now sat at 6 tenths, nearly 6.5 tenths, so it's coming down furiously right now. John de Wilde obviously not content with that 3rd in AM class. He wants 2nd. That's exactly what he's going to get as far as he's concerned, heading through towards turn 9. Took a little bit of an awkward line heading through turn 9 as well as they round towards turn 10. Still at this moment in time, Van der Velde marshalling the gap well, marshalling John de Wilde well, given the fact that John de Wilde is coming at him like a bull in a china shop, now down through towards the next right-hander, and again defensive from Van der Velde, trying to keep John de Wilde from making the key move here, as then they come through, and John de Wilde with a lovely exit might get a chance to tee something up heading through turn 13. We'll wait and see. Goes the long way around the outside this time, but not enough to make the move for that position. Heading through now the final corner, turn 14. And still at this stage is Van der Velde, but the inside now is creeped open here for John de Wilde. He can certainly find it now down this long straight. A little uncomfortable ride over the curves there for Van der Velde. Has got the straight line speed though. I think he might have enough, may have got enough exit speed, but John de Wilde crucially will have the inside line in towards turn 1. Will he execute? He certainly will. A lovely, comfortable car move as well. Wonderfully placed. He is now up into 5th place.
5th place and 2nd in the AM class as well. That's important for him within that categorization, of course. And he will be working hard at the wheel. Unfortunately for him, I don't think Jean Font is particularly between the two of them will be something like 20 seconds at this point. In fact, it'll be more than that. It'll be about 30 seconds almost between de Walde and Jean Font, who of course came in without any handicap, so he has capitalised. Very quick driver to begin with, and with no handicap in play, it was always going to be a likelihood that Jean Font would be right up there in the AM class, and he is indeed right up there. He is also third in the overall classification at this stage. Eugenio Pisani has that 5-second penalty applied to him. I would be surprised to see John de Walde make up enough of the gap to capitalise on that 5-second penalty for Pisani. You can't rule it out. Fourth overall may yet come John de Walde's way if he can sew together some quick laps and close in on Eugenio Pisani before the end of the race. But I think getting within 5 seconds with a gap of 21 seconds, actually, I apologise, I said it was 12, it's 21 seconds. I don't think de Walde is capable of finding 16 seconds over Pisani over the next 7 minutes. That would be a hugely tall order. As far as tall orders go, that's more basketball player than jockey, I'm afraid. And there is that 56 car. Q1 track racing entry. It's been a good performance, as always, from all stablemates in the Q1 track racing team. Of course, de Walde and Van der Velde are two of them. Jan Larijsen and Lucas Valkra, the other two of the Q1 track racing entries here today. And it is Larijsen in his traditional position at the sharp end of the order right now. It's been a great showing from the number 54 driver. You saw him really pressing on there. There's Jean Font. Once again, putting in a good second stint to the race here for Vapouro Motorsports. Into the final corner, turn 14. He'll continue to press on. How does his last lap compare to Lucas Valkra's? The answer is not favourably, so he's not closing in on Valkra Jean Font. Gap is out to 10 seconds between second and third place at the moment. Eugenio Pisani is starting to put in some good laps. Incidentally, they're in fourth position. A 151.738 on the last lap. Personal best race of the session thus far. So looks like Pisani has found some speed. Faster than any lap we saw out of Stefano Zanini in the first into the race in that 44 car too. There is Larijsen then through turn 8 and 9 with 5 minutes left on the clock. And there you see Jahid Faisal Karim. Jahid Faisal Karim, who is kind of making his first go of it in GT Cup Open Europe. He worked very hard to get the required licenses. Oh, runs it off a bit wide there. And is learning each and every time he heads out onto the circuit with the capable tutelage of Julian Darras. Really enjoying his time at the wheel of this Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT4. Car powered by a 4-litre AMG Turbo V8. There is the 54 machine then, Larijsen out of turn 1, and will soon put a lap on Jahid. It's a really great set of people down at Street Art Racing. A pleasure to have them in the paddock. Of course, running a GT3 car in GTOpen as well. Larijsen putting a lap on Karim. And all fairly cordial in that instance. Gap between Larisen and Valtra is out to 6 seconds, so Larisen has built that gap as he would have liked to. On lap 25 of the race with just over 3 minutes to go, Larisen, even though he's clearly still pushing, just needs to get the car home at this stage. He won the first race of the season at Paul Ricard, of course. He missed race number 2 for a family engagement. He proceeded to take a double win to put himself back into the lead of the championship post-Spa. And coming into this weekend, he had just the 1 point over Lucas Valtra and Dirk Schouten in the championship. Jan Larisen will further extend this championship lead if he can finish in the lead where he currently resides. And you see in the car's body language that he's A, having fun, and B, still pushing. Saw him going sideways out of turn 13 just a few moments ago. Had a very successful race 2 weeks ago at Zandvoort as well in the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. He's a Pro-Am registered driver there as well, but he was up there with some of the pros, fighting in a top 5 position. It seems that Larisen really has hit a new vein of form in this 2022 season, no matter where he goes. And GT Cup Open Europe, no exception. Into T5. Careful not to run the car out too wide. Pretty much nailed it there, did Larisen. Just had wheels on the white line, but not all the way over. Does, though, really like putting his right side tyres on the dirt between 7 and 8, and I can't imagine that makes for pleasant viewing for Q1 track racing. They'll be sat there saying, no, just nurse the car home at this point. You've done the bit you needed to do. You got around Lucas. Let's just ease the car home. But I don't think Jan Larisen believes in easing cars home. He presses on no matter what. Here we get a replay of him through 6 and 7 across the curbs a few laps ago. You see how the rear wing always reacts to the vibrations of hopping over the curbs on those slow-mos. Almost looks like it's bending, but of course that is not the case. Final lap of the race then for Jan Larisen. The gap between himself and Lucas Valtra, as near as makes no difference, 10 seconds, 9.908 of a second at the moment between Larisen, or Larisen I should say, and Lucas Valtra. Joan Font still there in 3rd place as well. He's set for a comfortable AM victory in his first appearance of the 2022 season. Of course, with that AM win will come a handicap, and he will have to serve a longer pit stop in race 2 tomorrow. We're going to run out of handicap seconds eventually for this man, Jan Larisen. So dominant and so fast has he been so far this year. Out of turn number 9 for the final time. It comes Larisen then. Just a few corners from home. In the 54 car, the Porsche 992 Cup machine. Turns it into turn 12. Very nicely managed. Just 2 corners to go. And with a slidey flourish, a 4th win in 5 races of the season is due now for Jan Larisen, who extends his lead with a checkered flag in race 1 of the weekend at the Hungaroring. Congratulations to Q1 Track Racing and to Jan Larisen. Lucas Valtra is awaited by Dirk Schouten and he crosses the line in second place, some 12.1 seconds off Jan Luysen. Jean Font comes across the line now to complete the overall podium and take the AM class win. Eugenio Pisani crosses the line in fourth place. He does have a 5-second penalty to be applied to his time, but that will not affect his track position. The man coming home second among the AM category is John de Wilder, who we see on screen here. He's in a different colour scheme this weekend, but he's as quick as ever. In his first race at Hungaroring, he takes 5th place overall and 2nd in the AM class. Laurent van der Velde due across the line here to take 6th overall and 3rd among the AMs. There he goes now. Zombor Nagy is due across the line next in 7th place. Stefano Zerbi crossing the line to take 10th in the race, a lap down. Here comes Zombor Nagy, just crossing the line for 7th place. He was there to finish the race in front of his home crowd, along with his compatriot Csaba Volta. The Hungarian drivers will be looking to make amends tomorrow. Of course, they were tagged into a spin in the early stages of this race. I'm sure that GDL Racing, Misters Nagy and Volta, will be looking for better fortunes out of this race. Or out of the next race, I should say, tomorrow. Luysen, our winner then in this race by what was eventually 17 seconds. Of course, there was a penalty applied to Valkra and Schouten as well. Jean Font taking 3rd position ahead of the Pisani Zanini number 44 car, which took 3rd in Pro-Am. Font, the winner in the AM class. De Wilder 5th, Van der Velde 6th. Nagy and Volta in 4th place. Perry and Tinsescu in 8th. Faisal Karim and Julian Darras taking 9th place. Fabio Fabiani and Stefano Zerbi rounding out the order in that one. And the championship lead will have grown for Jan Luysen. It's out to just 4 points. The gap is still marginal, but it's growing for Jan Luysen. And so the winning driver clambers out of the winning car. Jan Luysen with another solid overall result in this one. Just continues to rack up the wins, and he makes it look rather easy, although I'm sure that in these searing hot conditions of the Hungaroring, they're probably less than easy cars to drive. Out of the car steps Lucas Valkra. 2nd place finish. And Jan Luysen congratulating his Q1 track racing stablemate. There's Jean Font, 3rd place. Always like a bare carbon fibre lid. He will like taking the AM class win, as well as claiming 3rd position in that race. Spanish Vaporo Motorsport team back with us in GT Cup Open Europe and back with us in the International GTOpen this weekend as well with their Mercedes AMG GT3. They were meant to be a full season, but the car was damaged after the Estoril race. In fact, not even getting to race, it was damaged in practice. They've only just now managed to source themselves a replacement chassis. Clearly a hot day for Jan Luysen. Dirk Schouten heads over to congratulate Jan as well. Jean Font then 3rd in the overall standings and our AM class winner. A great result for the Vaporo team on their first appearance of 2022 in GT Cup Open Europe. Valkra and Schouten claiming 2nd place in that number 53 Q1 track racing car. And Jan Luysen, our race winner in that number 54 car. Another win for the masterful Belgian.
Jan Luysen, In Flemish, we would say nog een keer, another time.
Ja, nog één keer. Ja, it was very fun race, and riding was good. Yeah, I really enjoyed. So, well, hopefully tomorrow we can do it again.
And whenever it's hot, you seem to drive even better.
Yeah, every time it's crazy hot, but yeah, it's okay. No.
Good for the championship.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, all the best.
So then let's take a look back at this race. Off the line, it was, of course, Dirk Schouten on the pole position alongside Jan Larijsen. And Jan would have the inside, make that the outside line, sorry, into turn one and take the lead. Meanwhile, Schouten ended up getting swallowed by Schaber-Volter as well as Jean Font. He tried to get back up past Schaber-Volter, but he'd end up tagging Schaber into a spin. That would ultimately accrue a 5-second penalty for he and Lucas Valkyrie. Schouten managed to get past Jean Font without too much scrapping. And then we saw the Schaber-Volter recovery drive. The Hungarian competitor gave the fans here at Hungaroring lots to cheer about as he moved his way through the order and made some spectacular overtakes as he did so. Jean Font came under pressure from Jan Larijsen shortly after the mandatory pit stops. And Jean Font made it rather easy for Larijsen ultimately. Lucas Valkyrie took over the 53 car, assumed a lead, but it wasn't a long-lasting one. Jan Larijsen closed in and passed by the time they got to turn 4. And then, with a much larger gap in his rear-view mirror, Larijsen eventually crossed the line to claim the win. And so now for the podium. And Jean Font briefly ascends to the top step of the podium and then takes his rightful third place. Lucas Valkyrie taking second, and the top step reserved for Jan Larijsen. Here comes the Belgian national anthem.
Congratulations, gentlemen. Please raise your trophies for the official photographs.
There you go then, trophies raised, trophies held aloft by our top 3 crews, our 4 winning drivers, or our 4 drivers across the podium, of course, with Jean Font and Jan Larijsen being soloists.
Now you can celebrate the champagne!
Doesn't seem as though Larijsen and Font have any intentions of spraying the champagne, but Lucas Valkyrie and Dirk Schouten like to have a bit of fun. And I think someone's being firmly wetted by the champagne by the sounds of the pit crews down by the podium. And sure enough, yes, it was Dirk Schouten getting soaked by Lucas Valkyrie there. So then, the AM class podium is still to come. Of course, it will be Jean Font on the top of that one after a very solid performance. He really was right up there with the likes of Larijsen and Valkyrie in the early stages, and of course he will accrue a penalty next time.
Welcome the official podium ceremony for the Pro-Am category for the GTOpen Race 1 in Hungary.
Here comes the third place driver then in AM. And okay, so this is, sounds like a Pro-Am order being given. Okay, so they're doing a Pro-Am podium, sorry. So that is Pisani and Zanini. Back up as well comes Schouten and Valkyrie, and Jan Larijsen, of course, on the top step as well. So they're doing a Pro-Am podium.
Well done, gentlemen. Please raise your trophies for the official photographs.
So then the Pro-Am podium, as you can see, largely similar to the overall podium, it must be said. But of course, Pisani and Zanini claiming the third step on that Pro-Am podium. Jan Larijsen continues to accrue champagne. Lucas Valkra continues to spray it. He obviously has no intention of having a drink later because he's throwing it all away on the podium there. The AM class podium is next up. You see there the likes of Laurent van der Velde, who took third place in the AM class ultimately. John de Wilde claiming second and Jean Font claiming the top step. And De Wilde with more solid points on the board. He will continue to extend his lead in the AM Championship.
Third position.
Of course, even though Jean Font took the win, it is his first appearance of the season. So for now, at least, De Wilde doesn't have to worry about him as competition. And there comes Jean Font to top the podium in the AM classification. And the Spanish driver with a successful beginning to his 2022 GT Cup Open Europe season. They'll all be back tomorrow, some of them with a bit of a handicap. Let's see what effect that has on the racing. Make sure you join us on Sunday.